saw a pretty big turnaround in metals and also oil this morning, and that is actually largely due to the euro rebounding. It was quite odd that I was looking at this information yesterday late, and turned out to be approximately correct that the sentiment on the euro was so negative against the euro and so positive for the dollar that it was bound to change. It's almost like you have to have an opposite thinking in your mind on any which way the market seems to be going to be more correct, which is very difficult to do. Because most of the time the market does take a stance is because there's a lot of reasons for it, actually hard reasons for it, and fundamental reasons for it. So you don't really know when the actual pivot point is going to occur. But when people get too much on one side, that's what occurs. It does change. This was interesting about the silver rush at MF Global. And to me, I find it quite funny because I am actually in the paper markets and electronic markets also, but I'm a little more conservative about it, and mainly in the physical metals. I really don't know 100% which way anything is 100% safe. If I knew that answer, obviously I would be 100% in that specific area and in that specific commodity or stock or whatever it is. So I just don't think it's smart to be 100% in one area. That's just my personal opinion. I'm mainly into physical silver, though. That's a fact. Um, but it looks like they were storing bars of silver at a vault uh, and they're being charged for fees as we speak for this storage. Yet the silver is not there. So it looks like they're holding receipts in their hands and they don't have the assets to back them up at MF Global. So people are rightfully so are very pissed off, but I find it quite funny to tell you the truth because I know what these people are about. They're a bunch of BS. I can't stand them. I could play their game very, very well, and their wives are worst. Okay. It's usually the guy that sticks his neck out and he gets the money, but Miss Innocent walks off the money in the end game. That's usually what I see happens quite often. Um, you know, that's just a fact because the devil's all the way around. At stake is an unspecified but apparently large volume of gold and silver bars slated for delivery to traders through counts at MF Global. The traders are still being assessed fees for storage and other commodities. Now the question is CME going to bail out the MF Global customers, or are they going to, try to say they're not liable for that or responsible for that in any way, and keep their stock high? Because actually right now the CME stock has been dropping. It was at high at $327 over the past year and has slid to a recent $242 as a result of low trading volumes and uncertainty about the MF Global scandal. Now, to me, this makes it very bullish for physical gold and silver. People are going to have to wake up. I'm sure this is not just one little area with John Corzine. And if they think it is, they're idiots. That's all I got to say. I don't even care what happens to them, to tell you the truth. So, I think that's just better for me. So, it's still unclear whether CME will put its commodities futures customers first or its shareholders. I think it's going to put its shareholders first, and they're going to do everything they can to weasel out of, supporting the commodities future customers getting any kind of physical metals back. So, what's going to happen there? That's going to be very bullish for the physical metals. Very bullish. And these idiots are going to start waking up. These ones that are so used to looking at the numbers, looking at paper. They look at yellow metal, they wonder what the hell that is. They're going to start waking up. But I don't really care about them because I already know what I did. And Tell you the truth, I don't like a lot of these professional rip-off artists. They're a bunch of garbage. They don't do anything. Um, as far as what happened this morning with the commodities, a lot of it was because of the news that actually drove oil up too, and a lot of the same news caused oil to go up. It also caused the precious metals to go up, and that was due to the strength of the euro. Crude gained as the euro advanced against the dollar after Spain's borrowing costs dropped at the sale of the 3 and 6 month bills, their T-bills, and the nation sold 5.46 billion euros of debt, exceeding the maximum target of 4.5 billion euros. So they exceeded that target by a large amount, like 25%. So they're looking good. They're looking good. So the euro started rebounding a little bit, and they're talking about, now this is specifically about oil, but when there's uncertainty in the oil market because of sanctions, it's usually bullish for gold. And when something's, gold and silver seem to run pretty tight together. Oil may surge by $40 a barrel if sanctions halt supplies from Iran. Blanche Bank of America Corp's head of commodities research in New York said in this report, he stated that it could jump that high because of supplies halting from Iran. It says the Iran is the second largest producer of the OPEC countries after Saudi Arabia. So right now they're also storing oil on ships. They're doing inventory on sea because they're not sure what's going to happen. They're not keeping it in the country. They're just exporting it and keep it on ships till wherever it gets resolved with the sanctions. And they're saying Iran borders the Straits of Hormuz, which obviously everybody knows, the sea channel to which about 15.5 million barrels a day, or a sixth of the global shipments, are transported. There's about 88 million barrels a day consumed in the world. So that's 15.5 million out of that goes to the Straits of Hormuz. So, they're going to close that off if there's going to be a problem. And so I don't think they'll be able to close it off long term, though. They'll be able to, it'll be cleared up, but it'll cause the oil to spike a great deal. And usually, I pointed out, when oil spikes a great deal, silver spikes a great deal around that same time frame. The correlation kind of increases. I found this interesting about Russia. It's we had the BP oil spill in the United States, and everybody was like freaking out, and I thought it was going to keep going because I didn't think they could stop it. But I personally think they might have used a nuke underground without telling anybody, because that was the only thing that could actually stop that. But anyway, it worked, so it looks like it's pretty much stopped. But Russia, actually, they're talking that it spills more oil every year, far more oil every year than in the BP oil spill. And I could believe this because I don't know. I'm not an environmentalist at all, so I really don't care too much about this. But I found it interesting, and it does kind of fit the Russian mentality. Norilsk mine up in northern Siberia, the big nickel producer and also the palladium producer. It's so polluted up there, they don't even let Western visitors go there anymore for the last decade, because there's not even one living tree within a 30-mile radius. So, but they're saying that Russia's infrastructure on oil is actually worse than Nigeria's, and it's leaking a little bit all over the place, and killing off plants, contaminating the soil, and water supply, and all this type of stuff. Something I could see what is probably happening. In the United States, is a big problem with getting anything done because the environmental codes are ridiculously stringent. And I think it should be smart that the oil industry ought to, not screw up, because that's what causes the environmental controls in the first place. But if you go to, say, develop land or anything like that, and you have an eagle land on there and make a nest, that stupid eagle is going to cost you like $150,000 in environmental studies and all this other stuff. So, and you know where that cost goes to? It goes to the end user. So there's a cost, no matter what happens. The company never pays. It's the consumer that pays. You always keep that in mind. So I look at how Russia does things in China. They just go ahead and do it. They just go ahead and do it. Sometimes we might need a little bit more of that, so to get things going again, a little less environmentalism. But I think that would be a smart thing because when this oil supply gets closed off from the Middle East, and I think it is, I think there's going to be a time when that happens. If they don't get the oil supply increased greatly in the United States real fast, the price is going to go to some astronomical level. Now, in my case, I don't really care too much because I'm just going to make money on it. But for most people out there, that's not going to be a good thing. But here's just to flip back. This was the euro today, and it did jump up, it kind of retraced a little bit, and there's various news stories come out. I mean, this is very psychological, but if the euro was already at 120 to a dollar back in June of 2010, so it dropped to 130 to a dollar. I don't think this thing's going to fall apart and everything's going to fall apart like people are saying. And you watch all over Europe, I mean all over YouTube, everybody in the world is saying that the euro is going to fall apart in a matter of weeks. They're wrong. They're wrong. It's not going to. And even this downturn in China, it's more specific to the real estate market. It's not necessarily specific to the olive and Chinese industry throughout the board. And I know capital is running out of China, but it's running into the U.S. dollar, which is definitely not a safe haven. So, but I think the most revealing story is what happened to MF Global, and the people actually had physical gold and silver stored in vaults with receipts. They're not getting the stuff back. And I laugh at this. I don't really care, to tell you the truth. I don't even care. I think that's quite funny. And you could tell these people a million things, but who cares? People make it. I'm more interested in what I'm doing, and I just state what I'm doing on YouTube, and that's exactly it. I am mainly into physical metals, and I'm taking a risk being in electronic markets. But as time goes by, I'm going to be in electronic markets less and less and less. Basically, I'm going to be mainly out of them. But I don't think every single market and everything on a piece of paper is going down. I disagree with that scenario. But this part here about this catastrophe what happened with MF Global is the absolute best thing in the world that can happen to gold and silver, because the light bulbs are starting to go on, and all these people are bitching about they can't get their metals back. The word is getting around, and they're going to start buying. Now, these are the people you want to sell to them at $500 an ounce. That's what you want to do. These guys with the suits that are walking around with the BS, those are the ones you sell to them at $500 an ounce. And then when you get that money, you buy another hard asset. But I think the one metal to hold longer term is palladium. I think even after gold goes up and then it comes down and silver comes down, I think longer term that metal palladium is going to actually hold together in value a lot longer, because of the after oil goes way to hell up and there's going to be demand destruction, and one of the areas that's going to take over for oil is going to be hydrogen. And that's where the unique properties of palladium come into being. Hydrogen manufacturing, hydrogen purification, hydrogen storage. And there is less palladium. I mean, there's a lot less platinum in the world than gold. There's a lot less gold in the world than silver. And there's a lot less palladium in the world than platinum. It's rare stuff, and it is pretty essential. So it's I think of it as a metal like silver on steroids. So that's why I think it's a good deal. But that's my personal opinion. But I put my money there. That's where I put my money. So I'm going to hold that metal off for a longer time. But as far as this MF Global, I find this humorous. I don't even care, I don't even care. That just tells you, like, and if they can't find the silver anywhere, they can't find it fast enough, because these guys, all these people got bucks. I mean, they got serious bucks. If you start seeing billions of dollars trying to pour into silver, watch that price spike.